John Tarks here with Midline and Minden. It's Friday morning, May 31st. I'm here with your Friday First Look video for the weekend. You know, with our delayed planning coming on here as we begin to cross into June here over the weekend, there's just some different topics and some considerations, phone calls we've been fielding around here, and things I felt pertinent to bring to you in video format here this morning. Just a lot of calls concerned about relative maturity of both corn and soybeans and some different considerations, and maybe just some things I wanted to put in your nose to kick around for the weekend while we're still in a little bit of a wet pattern and we get a chance to go back to the field. So, you know, with delayed corn planting, and there are still a fair amount of corn acres to go into the ground yet, I think, you know, there's really two things that I feel like you've really got going well for you right now. One, you're planting DeKalb, and I know as the DeKalb deal that sounds kind of like the company line. But I say that because of the DeKalb dry down difference, and it is something that we can't state enough, and many of you really rely on and count on every year, that we are going to be a point to 2 points drier than the competition out there. And we really are, with where we're at this time, the planting season crossed into June. Putting DeKalb on the ground in these situations is going to pay off for you at harvest. It's going to be less propane you got to pump through, less dock at the elevator, less wet corn. Stay on the course with your DeKalb seed corn and putting some additional acres of that in the ground if possible, I think are things that are going to be big for you. I think the other part to, as I've talked to John Swalwell about this, and a point that he brings up that's really, really good to consider too, is, GDU accumulation of this crop right now happens so much faster right now than it did a month ago. Let's say we go on the ground today on May 31st. Are we going to be 30 days behind something stuck on the ground on the 1st of May? From a planting day standpoint, we sure are, but from a GDU accumulation standpoint, it's going to be more like 2 weeks when it all really plays out. So, those are a couple of things I think we have in our favor right now that maybe keep us from getting too nervous about not having this crop in the ground. I know you're all very well aware of the yield curves and how they begin to tailor off as we get into the end of May and first part of June. But we do have a couple of things that are working in our favor that I think are a couple of things that you can feel good about. Now, sitting here on the 31st of May, is it time to maybe begin to think to go about going away from 114, 15, 16 day corn? Yeah, I kind of think it is. And are we getting on the brink on 112, 113 day? Yeah, it's time to start thinking about it. We've probably got about another week. I would say get in that June 5th to June 10th window. We probably need to begin to consider dropping to some 108, 109, 110 day stuff. And the really good news, I think, is that we did bring in some extra seed in those maturities this week, just kind of in preparation for guys possibly wanting to switch. And the nice part is we have first choice hybrids like the 58, 34, 35 family, 60, 67, 60, 69 family, as well as the 60, 88, 60, 87 family. Those are all things that we sold you guys last winter that were going in the ground back in April, and are things that you can be super successful with now. I think any corn you're sticking in the ground this time of year, what you need to really consider is how's this thing going to respond to a stressed environment. And when I say stressed, I'm talking about maybe possible dryness, heat stress during grain fill. Because while we are going to be good at GDU accumulation or catch up on that, maybe not be as far behind as planting day that we already mentioned, we are going to put this thing, a kind of a race to grain fill, if you will. And what's going to happen if we do run into some heat or drought stress? I think maybe a little more emphasis on stress products, things that can handle that. And those three hybrid families I previously mentioned are all going to handle those situations very well for your operation. So as we're kind of moving into whenever this next dry spell comes, that we can get back to shoving some more corn on the ground, those are definitely going to be some things for you to consider and some tools to still make you successful while we're looking at a delayed planting type of situation. Soybean wise, we're getting the same questions. What do I do with soybeans? What maturities do I need to be planting? And really soybeans, there's a little more hopeful outlook, I think, at this time of year for guys. I think irregardless of maturity that you're planting, and I know we've addressed this with many of you before, the most important thing you can do right now is walk out to your planter or jump into your monitor and change your population. If 140, 145, 150 was a great population in April or the 1st of May, I would completely recommend being at 180 today or possibly even higher. And we've talked a little bit about this in the past, whether your seed's in the ground right now or it's in the bag right now, your seed's in the vegetative stages of growth here for the year. And regardless of planting date, those things are going to flip out here at the end of June. They're going to switch over on that 23rd, 24th, 25th in correlation with the longest day of the year when the seed will flip into reproductive stages. Now, how do we compensate for that? Population is a huge part of the deal. It's all about nodes, clusters, beans, all that stuff gives rise to yield. And right now, if we're going to be behind on vegetative growth, as far as what we can get per plant, let's make sure we've got more plants. I think the other thing you really need to consider doing is this: plant late means late. And that's always an adage that I've heard in the industry over the years, and it's very true. You know, if you know a 2.4, 2.5 soybean is going to flip into reproductive stages on, say, the 23rd of June, that group 3.3, 3.2 soybean, it might get you the 27th, 28th of June. And I'm thinking that extra 4 or 5 days of coverage, it might give you one more cluster on top of each plant. That's again going to give rise to yield. So those are some considerations on soybeans as far as populations and maturities. You know, for a lot of guys, it comes down to is yield most important, is making the combine grow most important, and where you kind of sit in between the middle of all that. Know right now, whatever you need to do, we've got extra group 3 soybeans around the building if you want to switch, and we'll be open the hours to keep you guys running when the day comes to it. The other question we've been getting, and I would tell you it's one that we've pondered on our own acres. We've watched the market run up here. We'll go 4, see some 420, 30, 40, even 450 kind of stuff out there. Do I need to maybe begin to look at switching acres from beans to corn? And I would tell you right now, it's something we're strongly considering, and I would encourage you to have the same conversation too. The opportunity to shove more DeKalb corn in the ground at this juncture with some of the 3 hybrid families previously mentioned, and a chance to capture some 4+ type of prices on the market, you know, cash prices. I think there's some real opportunity for profitability there for guys that can get stuff in the ground yet, and it's something to give a very strong consideration to. So know that we've brought in some extra seed this week on the corn side to be prepared for this and to address this type of scenario. And you know, just let us know how we can help in any way, shape, or form. Know that we'll be here, guys. We're going to help you through what's been a very tough spring, and know that we're thinking of you guys on the river bottoms too. We know that some of these issues we're talking about kind of pale in comparison to what you guys are dealing with. And know that our hearts are sure out with you guys, and prayers for your family too. So with that, guys, we'll give you that for the weekend to kick around and consider. Be safe in preparations as we're getting ready to go back to the field when the chance comes. Know that our team here at Midline is ready to help you guys. Again, this is John Talk Show this morning. It's Friday morning, May 31st. I'm here with your Friday First Look video. Have a good weekend.